Hello, welcome to Hatha Yoga. My name is Michelle Chua, and for today's practice, you'll want to have 2 blocks and a strap. We're going to physically focus on hip opening postures, but to be more specific, bringing the thighs into external rotation. So let's start in some position like that, seated upright, Sukhasana, auspicious pose. And if you find that your knees are lifting away from the ground uncomfortably, you may like to elevate your pelvis on a couple of blocks side by side so you can create a wide bench and sit towards the front edge of it. So it allows your pelvis to slightly tilt forward and your knees to drop open more easily. And then play with how far apart or close together you bring your shins, as that can have effect as well in being able to sit up taller. Take a moment to consciously arrive in your yoga practice. Allowing yourself to set aside what is not relevant to your practice in this next hour or so that you can fully immerse with wholehearted presence. Here is a quote from American author Mark Twain. "I've experienced a great deal of pain and suffering in my life, most of which has never happened." I've mentioned recently in the second limb of yoga, there's a practice called brahmacharya. And it's how we are intentional with our energy. Knowing that the thoughts we choose to focus on, we give our energy to, and thus create more thoughts of the same topic, the same idea, that then becomes our expanded reality. So what kinds of thoughts have you been feeding lately? Are they the kinds of thoughts that contribute to well-being, especially yours? If we remember that thoughts are simply events, and they're actually neutral events, and they become not neutral when we place some kind of meaning behind them, when we decide to adopt them as true or as beliefs. So just as we're intentional with our physical body when we're practicing asana yoga, the postures, I invite you to bring that same intentionality into your mind and really observe, where does your attention go when you're entering an easy posture, when you're entering a challenging posture, when you fall out of a pose maybe. Where does your attention go? What kinds of thoughts do you tend to give your energy to and thus increase? And then from that awareness, as we talked about before, we have that conscious choice. What do you want to focus on and pour your energy into? Let's begin by checking in, sitting still, tall, and comfortably. Maybe close the eyes as you begin to scan your awareness throughout your physical body. Observing any sensations, tensions, anything that your body would like you to know so that you can practice the postures more intelligently and compassionately. Begin to observe your breathing just as it is, by sensing the qualities of your breath. Notice how you feel energetically. Let this inform how you approach the movements and poses. Bring your awareness to your mind. Do you notice any patterns, like the kinds of thoughts you have been feeding today? And notice how you feel emotionally. Let's begin to deepen the breath, inhaling slowly through your nose. Exhaling slowly through your lips. Inhaling a little deeper, feeling the breath move in your body. And exhaling just as slowly. Continue to deepen your breath as you invite gratitude into this practice, recognizing something, anything that you appreciate in this moment. With the energy of gratitude, identify your intention for your practice today. What quality or feeling tone or something more specific are you inviting into your experience? And then I invite you to choose somebody to dedicate your practice to today, a way of making an offering of your efforts. Together, let's chant to create resonance as we share our practice. 3 ohms. Let's begin to invite balance, calm, and focus to our minds and bodies by practicing the breathing technique called Ujjayi Pranayama, which means victorious breathing. So closing your lips, softly narrow or gently constrict the back of your throat, so that as you inhale and exhale slowly and evenly through your nose, you create a very soft whispering sound that by paying attention to it, you bridge your mind, body, and the present moment. Focusing on creating a slow, gently audible rhythm with the breath. See if you can keep that going through much of our physical practice. Please make your way down onto your back. We're gonna start with some gentle movements to help warm up the hips. So as you're lying on your back, bend your knees into your chest and take hold of your bent knees to the pace of the breath, really slowly. Inhale, circle your thighs apart. Exhale, rotate your thighs together. Keep going for several more breaths. Feel free to change directions as we help to lubricate the joints in your hips. You can also change up the size of the rotations. Taking your time to reach the very top of the in-breath and balance the length of time to the very bottom of the out-breath. Then set your left foot on the ground, rotate your right thigh externally, which means turn it out at the hip. And as you flex your right foot, spreading the toes back towards your right shin, cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Keep the left foot on the floor, shoulders and head down. And with your right hand, gently press the top of your right thigh, so close to your hip bone, so that you can splay that right thigh open as you're grounding the back of your left hip. Notice any sensations you're feeling, especially around your right hip. So by pressing into the thigh, not into the knee, we're encouraging the knee to point open to the right. If it's open pretty straight out to the right, then you might go a step further and lift your left foot off the floor. Threading the needle by sliding the right arm between your thighs, and with 2 hands, holding your left thigh or your left shin as you gently bring the left leg closer to you, and maybe use your right elbow to keep splaying your inner right thigh open. Make sure you're still flexing your right foot, as that's helping to stabilize your right knee so that we can focus on really turning out from the hip, not any lateral twisting up from the knee. Let's tune into about 3 more deep breaths. Set your left foot on the ground, set your right foot on the ground. And now let's turn out the left thigh at the hip. And as you flex the left foot, cross the ankle of your right thigh. And with your left hand, gently splay your inner left thigh open. Again, make sure you're pressing close to your left hip, not at your left knee, while keeping your right foot on the ground. Root the back of your right hip into the ground. Let's stay here at least a few more breaths. Paying attention to sensations around the left hip. Now, if your left knee is quite splayed open to face the left wall already, then you might add thread the needle. But if your left knee is pointing more towards you like this, stay right here and continue to splay the left thigh open. So if you are going to thread the needle, lift the right foot, thread the left hand between your thighs, and hold the right thigh or shin with 2 hands, gradually bringing it closer. Listen to about 3 more cycles of breath here. Now, uncrossing the legs, draw your bent knees together into your chest and begin to rock forward and back several times to build some momentum, so that eventually you arrive standing at the top of your mat, maybe placing 2 blocks in front of your feet in mountain pose. Setting your feet apart, hips distance, and parallel to each other. Bring your hands in prayer in Padasana and come back to your intention for your practice. Beginning our sun salutations, offering gratitude to the sun and to the source within. Surya Namaskar C. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead and gently coil your chest up. Exhale, feel free to bend your knees as you bow forward from the hips. Plant your fingertips on the ground. Inhale, step your left knee behind you into a kneeling lunge and look up. While holding your breath, step into plank pose, top of a push-up. Exhaling, slowly lower your knees, then your chest, then your chin, sticking your tailbone up in. Inhale, slide forward onto your belly and coil your chest up. Cobra. Exhale, tuck your toes, lift your hips back, entering downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot forward beside your left thumb and lower your right knee, gazing up. Exhale, step your right foot forward and bow. Inhale, sweep the arms and rise to Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, join your hands together at your heart. One more time, side 2. Inhale, sweep the arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Plant your fingertips. Inhale, step your right knee back, Anjaneyasana. Hold your breath as you step to plank. Exhale into Ashtangasana, lowering knees, chest, then chin. Inhale into Cobra, slithering forward, ground the tops of your feet as you draw the shoulders back. Exhale into downward facing dog. Inhale, step your right foot beside your right thumb, lower your left knee and gaze up. Exhale, step your left foot forward and bow. Root down, inhale, rise to Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, marry your palms at your hearts. Moving on to Sun Salutation A. Inhale, arms overhead, coil the chest up. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. Press your fingertips on your shins, blocks or the floor. And inhale, lengthen your spine forward into half forward fold. Exhale, step to plank and lower forward through Chaturanga Dandasana. Then inhale into Cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale into downward facing dog, and let's pause there. Letting the movements dissolve as you steady your gaze for 3 more deep breaths. When you've emptied the 3rd breath, walk or lightly jump to the top of your mat into a forward fold. Press with your hands and inhale, lengthen your spine forward into Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana fold. Press with your feet, inhale, rise to Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Padasana, hands at the heart. Let's take the same sequence again. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, lengthen forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Step back to plank. Some of you might float to Chaturanga. Take it down to your vinyasa. Pausing in downward facing dog as you cultivate stillness, slow balanced breaths, and mental focus. When you've emptied the 3rd breath, stay here and inhale, raise your right leg behind you. Try to keep your hips leveled. As you exhale, bend the right knee towards your nose and lightly as you can, step the foot forward beside your right thumb and stay on the ball of your left foot. Inhale, rise into crescent lunge. Draw your tailbone down, square your hips to face forward, and slightly lift your frontal hip bones. Steadying your gaze for about 3 more breaths. Spin your left heel down and turn to your left into Warrior Two, where you open your arms and stack your wrists above your ankles, aligning your right heel to intersect the arch of your left foot. As you bend your right knee directly above your right heel, firm the outer edge of your left foot into the ground. As you rotate your right outer hip under the body, display the right knee towards your pinky toe, firm the top of your left thigh bone back. Let your shoulders relax as you steady your gaze just ahead of your right fingertips for about 3 more breaths. Virabhadrasana 2. Let's prepare for triangle pose. Straighten your right leg, sweep your hips towards your rear wall, and lengthen your torso towards your front wall, lowering your left fingertips lightly on your right fingertips on your right shin, or just to the right side of that shin on a block or the floor, where you can continue to tack your right hip crease back and not shorten or compress the right side of your body while spinning your chest slightly to face the sky. Stack your shoulders and wrists in one line. Trikonasana. As you steady your gaze, let's listen to another 3 breaths. Gaze at the ground ahead of your right foot and prepare to shift into half moon pose. Keep steadying the breath and walk your right hand about 6 inches forward of your right pinky toe, then out to the right corner. Placing that hand on a block or the floor, drag the left foot forward and flex it off the ground. Turning the chest to face your left wall. Again, stack your shoulders and wrists and tack your right hip crease back. Tuning into about 4 more breaths here in Ardha Chandrasana. So you'll notice these last sequence of 3 postures are all bringing the front leg into external rotation at the hip. Hip openers. On your next exhalation, bend your right knee and softly step back into Warrior Two. Deeply inhale, then exhale your hands to the floor and step right into Downward Facing Dog. Listen to the quality of your breath. Keep your hips leveled and inhale, raise your left leg behind you. Bend the knee towards your nose and exhale, softly step the foot beside your left thumb into a high lunge. Stay on the ball of your right foot. Inhale, rise up into crescent pose. As you direct both frontal hip bones to equally face forward, draw your tailbone down and slightly lift your frontal hip bones. Steadying your gaze, relax your eyes, relax your face. 3 more breaths. Spin your right heel down and turn to your right into Warrior Two. As you open the arms, stack your wrists over your ankles and align your left heel to intersect the arch of your right foot. Bending your left knee just over the ankle from the outer edge of the right foot down, and wrap your left outer hip under you as you firm the top of the right thigh bone back. With eyes steady, tune into 3 more breaths. Virabhadrasana 2. Let's prepare for triangle pose. Straighten the left leg, glide your hips towards your rear wall, and lengthen your torso towards the front. Place the left hand lightly on your left shin or just to the left of your shin, using a block if the floor feels so low that you're shortening the left side body. Tack the left hip crease back as you spin your chest slightly to face the sky. Let's listen to another 3 or 4 breaths in Trikonasana. Shifting into half moon pose, gaze at the ground ahead of your left foot and walk your left hand upper left corner from it. Drag your right foot in, flexing the right foot off the floor. Stack your shoulders and wrists. Steadying your eyes, steadying your breath. 4 more breaths in Ardha Chandrasana. Take your time stepping into Warrior Two. Then exhale back to Downward Facing Dog. Slow breath in, empty it all out. Inhale, raise your right leg back. Exhale, step the foot quietly beside your right thumb and spin the left heel down and facing forward. Rise up into Warrior One. Now, as you keep your feet entirely on the ground, back leg straight, front knee bent over the heel, sense that both your hip bones are equally facing forward. Keep that and backstroke your arms to clasp your hands behind your lower back. Humble warrior, also called, I'll remember later. So roll the shoulders back, breathe in, lift your chest, and start to bow forward, either resting on your front thigh or lowering your head to the inside of your right ankle. Use your left foot rooting down for support in balancing, and just let your head hang. Relax the neck as you stretch the arms forward. Lift the shoulder bones away from your ears and continue to tack your right hip back. The other name for this pose is Devotional Warrior. Last 3 breaths. Press to your feet and inhale, rise up. Step the left foot forward about 4 or 5 inches closer to the right foot, straightening the legs for pyramid pose. So you might want to use a strap as we bring the arms into cow face pose. So if you're not sure, grab a strap and hold it with your left hand so you can dangle the tail behind you. With your right hand, rotate your left tricep forward and bring the elbow behind your head. Reach underneath behind you for the bottom end of the strap and walk your hands as close together as you can. Try to keep your left elbow pointing up, not pointing to the left, with the help of that right hand pulling the strap. Now, if you're able to clasp your hands, then you don't need the strap. Press the shoulders down, lift your chin parallel to the floor, and seal in your bottom front ribs. As you spread your toes, energize your legs. Press down through your feet and tilt your heart up as you breathe in. Hinging from the hips, exhale just a little bit of your range. Pause there. Press through the feet again. Inhale, stretch your spine further forward. Keep the hips level and exhale. Continue to fold, exploring your range of motion for another 3 breaths in Parsvottanasana. As you press the feet down, inhale, slowly rise up all the way. And put a tiny bend in the right knee. Bend your elbows apart like a cactus shape. And we're going to come into another hip opening, balancing posture, eagle pose. Start with the arms. Cross the right arm over the left and either hook your thumbs or wrap your forearms and palms. Press the shoulders down and lift up to your crown. Steady your gaze and steady your breath. Shift your weight entirely onto your right foot as you turn out your left leg completely as you can. Wrapping that left leg over the right, bend both knees like you're sitting in a chair. Either flex the left foot outside the leg or tuck the toes behind the calf, in which you would need to draw the left hip back to keep both hips evenly facing forward. The lower you sit, the more grounded you might feel as you engage the belly, setting the gaze for about 4 more breaths here in eagle pose. Garudasana. Inhale, lift the forearms a little more, and then exhale, unwind the arms and legs into mountain pose. Slow breath in, maybe close the eyes. Exhale it all out. Sensing what's happening in your mind at this moment. Are you being observant of your thoughts, of the thoughts, treating them as neutral events that you get to choose what to put meaning into and what to let go of? Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, sweep your arms overhead. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Let's step right into downward facing dog. Inhale, raise your left leg behind you. Exhale, step the foot beside your left thumb, spin the right heel down, and inhale, rise up to warrior one. With both feet entirely on the ground, back leg straight, front knee bent over the heel, square your hips to face forward. Then backstroke your arms and maybe switch the interlacing of your thumb and index finger on top as we prepare for devotional or humble warrior. Drop the shoulders, lift the heart, breathe in. Then start to bow from the hips, leaning on top of your left thigh or lowering your head inside of your left ankle while still tacking the left hip back. Stretch the arms forward, completely relax your neck and lift your shoulders away from it. 4 more breaths here. Press to your feet, inhale, slowly rise up. And then step your right foot forward about 4 or 5 inches, shorter stance, straighten the legs. And let's prepare for pyramid pose. You might want to have your strap in your right hand to start off, raising the right arm, dangling the strap behind you. With the help of your left hand, rotate the right tricep forward. Bring the elbow behind your head, then press the shoulders down. Reach the left hand behind you underneath, catch the other end of the strap, and walk your hands as close together as you can. Remember, try to keep your right elbow pointing upwards rather than towards the right wall. Seal in your front ribs, lift your chin parallel to the ground, then inhale, tilt your heart up. Exhale, hinge forward, just a little bit of your range. Root to your feet, inhale, lengthen forward. Exhale, continue to explore your forward fold for 4 more breaths. Parsvottanasana. Pressing through your feet, inhale, slowly rise up. Put a little bend in your left knee and bend your elbows apart. Cross the left elbow over the right and either hook your thumbs or wrap your forearms and palms, preparing for eagle pose. Before you shift your weight to the front leg, how is your breathing? Does it feel balanced? Steady your gaze too. Then turn out your right leg as much as you can and wrap it over the left, bending both knees. Square the hips forward. Maybe sit a little lower. 4 more breaths in Garudasana. Prepare to take flight. Inhale, lift the elbows. And exhale, spread your wings. Let it go. Pause a moment here. Maybe close the eyes. And bring your awareness to your mind. What's present right now for you? Let's come to lower down to our knees, coming into hero's pose. Before we take our last few active back bends, let's open up the fronts of the hips a bit more. This posture could actually be considered a hip opener as well, if we're just talking general about the hips. So if it's uncomfortable to sit directly on your calves, you might try sitting on a block between the ankles. If that's uncomfortable too, you can come to your belly in Sphinx pose, reach back with one arm and catch the inner foot, and then switch sides instead. Otherwise, if you are comfortable sitting on your calves, you might even go further and sit on the ground between your ankles. Make sure your feet are not turned out or turned in. Toes are pointing straight back and your knees stay on the ground, no wider than hips distance apart. You might be feeling plenty happening and opening the fronts of your thighs and hips here, then you don't need to do anything else. Otherwise, breath by breath, you can start to lean your torso back, not forcing anything, but really paying attention to how your body's letting you know where to stop. Some days might be different than others. You might lower to your forearms. And to prevent compressing your lower back, direct the tailbone forward towards between your knees. And seal the bottom of your front ribs in towards your back. Let's tune into 5 to 10 more deep breaths where you are now. After one more cycle of breath, begin to slowly rise up if you're lying back. Then step your feet out in front of you. Parallel your feet to each other as your knees are bent. Feet hips width apart. Come on down to your back. Let's prepare for bridge pose. Bring the arms down by your sides. Have your heels where you could almost touch them with your fingertips if you're looking to activate the glutes more. If you're working on glute strength, slide the heels further forward. As you press your shoulders down, tilt your chin slightly back, and then press through all four corners of each foot, preparing to lift the hips, and stay lifted for 5 or more breaths. Tilt the tailbone up when you're ready, and as you lift the pelvis, actively stretch the front of your thighs forward. Keep your thighs parallel to each other and spin the inner thighs slightly towards the ground. Walk your upper arms under your back ribs while keeping the arms straight. If your hands touch, you might interlace the fingers. Full breaths to spread the collarbones open. Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, bridge pose. When you're ready to, use an exhale to slowly lower your spine and pelvis and just rest for a couple of breaths, sensing your body. The second of our last 3 back bends, I invite you into bow pose. So right where you are, please turn over onto your stomach to lie face down. Once there, bend both knees and reach back with both hands. Catching hold of your outer feet is a good place to start. If you want to go deeper, catch your inner feet or hold your ankles as you flex your feet. Press your pubic bone into the ground and kick your feet into your hands while pulling your feet with your hands. Lifting your knees no wider apart than hips distance, draw your shoulders back and down and lengthen the back of your neck. Stay in Dhanurasana for 5 or more breaths. When you're done, let your body relax in stillness for a couple of breaths. For our final back bend, I invite you into camel pose. So gently rise to stand on your knees. Grab a block and hug the skinniest width between your thighs. Tuck your toes behind you and backstroke your arms to place your hands on your lower back. Keep your pelvis directly above the knees and actively lengthen your tailbone downward towards between the knees as you lift your back ribs. Picture the area right under your shoulder blades, which is where you're going to tilt the chest from to face up. Breathe in, lift your chest, and drop the shoulders back, creating your back bend for 5 or more breaths. If you can reach, drop one hand to hold the heel beneath it, and then switch hands, switch heels, or hold both heels. Remember to keep your hips forward right on top of your knees. Ustrasana. When you're ready to come out on your own, place your hands on your lower back and slowly rise to sit. Find a seated position with your legs in front of you. Pause for a couple of breaths. And let's prepare for a seated twist. Bending your right knee, step the foot in front of your right hip, or cross the foot outside of your left knee, or from here, bend the left knee too. Choose the one that allows you to sit tall and balanced. Place the right hand behind your pelvis, raise your left arm, and press into the ground to lengthen your spine as you breathe in. Keep your legs still and exhale, begin twisting to your right and lower your left arm to hold your right leg, or hook the elbow outside of the leg. Breath by breath, allowing the twist for 3 more breaths. On your exhalation, unwind your spine and see if you can set up the same variation of the pose on your second side. Step the left foot in front of the hip or cross it outside of the right knee. Maybe also bend the right knee. Place the left hand behind your pelvis, raise your right arm up, root into the ground. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, begin twisting to the left, lower your right arm, or hook your elbow outside of the leg. Breath by breath. On an exhale, unwind. I invite you into one more hip opener, legs in external rotation at the hip, wide-legged seated forward fold. We're going to be in this for about 10 breaths. So if you'd like, you can place a block or two in front of you, stack them as high as you need so that you can rest your forehead on it, more of a restorative posture. This is a variation of Upavishta Konasana. First, make sure you're sitting upright. The pelvis is not tilted forward as you begin. Root your sitting bones down, lift your frontal hip bones, and keep your knees pointing up the whole posture, rather than turning the knees to face forward. It can help to slightly flex your feet. Then lengthen your spine as you inhale. Try to keep more of a flat back, even with a little lift in the chest, rather than rounding the shoulders like this and closing off the throat. And then take it for another 10 breaths, just exploring the depth on your own. When you're ready, pressing down to your sitting bones, breathe in to slowly rise up. Please find a comfortable way to sit tall and relaxed for pranayama. One more before we enter corpse pose or shavasana, and then 5 minutes in seated meditation. Notice how your hips feel if you're sitting in some hip opening posture. So the breathing technique I invite you into is one that helps to bring calmness to the nervous system. And it's helpful when we're flooded with thoughts and feeling restless in the mind to help us feel more grounded and present in our bodies. So this technique is called box breathing, or in Sanskrit, Samavriti Pranayama. And it's done by closing your lips and breathing softly but sustained. In for 4 counts, we'll hold the breath for 4 counts. Out through the nose for 4 counts, and we'll hold the breath for 4 counts. That's 1 cycle. Let's practice 2 cycles together and 3 cycles on your own. As we practice, if you're looking for more support in feeling grounded, you might bring your thumb and first fingers to touch and rest your palms face down on your lap. Maybe close the eyes. Prepare to begin by emptying this breath. Then inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Cycle 2. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue 3 more cycles on your own. When you finish, let go of controlling your breath and observe anything that you're feeling, any thoughts that may be arising. When you're ready to, gently lower your body to the floor and find a comfortable way to rest for a few minutes of stillness. Closing your eyes and breathing naturally while embodying presence, Shavasana. Start to bring your awareness back to your physical body with the eyes still closed, sensing the way your body feels right now. And start with a small part of your body to gently begin moving. Gradual, gentle movements, one after the other, to ease out of stillness. Being mindful in how you transition from corpse pose. Be attentive of your mind as well. Let's turn over gently to your right side and rest your head for a few moments as we pay attention to the breath. Sensing your energy and the effect of your practice on it. Slowly start to lift your body upright, finding a comfortable way in which you can sit for 5 minutes of meditation, a way in which you feel grounded, alert, and relaxed. You might continue with the same mudra for grounding and possibly close the eyes. Let's begin. In this mindful meditation practice, I invite you to begin by resting your awareness on the feeling, the sensations of the breath naturally flowing in your body. Choose one particular spot in your body to observe it from. Now, as we continue meditating, if and when you notice your attention wander away from the practice, as soon as you notice, gently bring your attention back to the breath as many times as you need to. Remember, this is part of the practice. As we continue cultivating awareness of our thoughts and practicing freedom of choice in the thoughts we feed, I invite you to now, resting the attention on the breath in the background, notice where your attention goes if a thought comes up, a sound comes up. And if it does go to another place than the breath, I invite you to chant this mantra mentally. I am loving awareness. And use that as your bridge back to the present moment, observing the breath again. I am loving awareness. Notice how your mind is feeling at this point. Notice how your heart is feeling emotionally. Remembering the words of Mark Twain, I've experienced a great deal of pain and suffering in my life, most of which has never happened. How can we be more aware of our thoughts and how we are relating to them, and know that this colors our experience? Now, as we begin to close our practice, notice what you'd like to offer appreciation for. Bring back your intention by mentally or out loud saying it again. Remember also to whom you dedicated this practice. And let's chant Om 3 times to close. Bowing in, honoring the light within. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.